Part 91. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhenshen. Chapter 901. Xiaoming followed the clues and found Zioxi village. He walked around the village and invaded almost everyone's mind. After discovering the situation of this village, he was simply amused. The villagers in their village are so cautious, why do they still want to be thieves? They can make a living by doing anything together. This is a mentality problem. There is a type of people who like the pleasure of harming others and benefiting themselves. If they go to work, others will not lose anything, and the boss will make more money than him, which makes them very unhappy. So they will never work, and they will look for various opportunities to take advantage of them all day long. In fact, after a day of busy work, it is more tiring than working, and they earn less, but they just enjoy it. This character is unique. Of course, those people are generally second-rate people in the surrounding area. The people in Zioxi village live better than these people. They are organized and disciplined, and even thieves have their own code of conduct. Therefore, they are living quite comfortably now. But this village is now at a crossroads. Of course, they can continue to live like this. It is also likely to make some changes. If they go in a good direction, they can collectively become good people. With such a good organization, they can make a living by doing some business, and they may live better than now. If they go in a bad direction, they will give up their principles little by little, do more and more evil things, and the whole village will slide more and more towards the direction of sin. Now there are people with these three tendencies in the village. In terms of quantity, most people want to take the middle road. But this group of people is also the most indecisive. Maybe one day they will be abducted by someone from the other side. Zioxi village is so interesting, Xiaoming really wants to get involved and do something. But business is more important. A family in the village left collectively and lived in a relative's house. They gave up the house and let an outsider live in it. This person is a member of the mercenary organization. Hong Cheng, 30 years old, a veteran, has a combat power of about E level. He is not a reincarnation, and it is very easy to invade his spirit. As far as Hong Cheng knows, the name of their organization is Umbu. Of course, he didn't know that it had the same name as the Umbu in Naruto. He just thought it was a very low-key name. The purpose of this organization is to provide benefits to veterans from various countries in China. To this end, they sometimes even do things that violate the law. But it is always several times better than those who maliciously persecute veterans. This time he came to deal with a factory that used veterans to make dirty money. The black-hearted factory he identified in his mind was the mechanical processing factory opened by Zhu Xingxiu. They didn't seem to know about the game studio yet. Oh my god, Xiaoming was angry. This kid really thought so. Their organization's ability to reverse black and white and call a deer a horse is too powerful. A closer look will show it. The top leaders of the organization did not provide any evidence to Hong Cheng, but Hong Cheng just believed that Zhu Xingxiu's factory was harming his comrades. Where can he go to reason? In fact, Xiaoming has always felt that the profession of a soldier is very respectable, but there are also some problems. Soldiers are bound by orders. Almost all soldiers from all countries on Pangustar are like this. Then the question is, what if the superior falsely transmits the order? What if the order is forged? In theory, ordinary soldiers still have to obey the order. In society, this is also a problem of public power. The person who holds public power is also an ordinary person. He may use the power in his hands to do evil. Although there is a post-punishment mechanism for doing bad things. But when he uses power to do evil, the people still have to obey. Only after the fact can they appeal. Sometimes, the superior does not need to leave any handles, as long as he gives a little hint, the subordinate must obey against his will. Because the future and destiny are all in the hands of the superior. In particular, the superior can always use a high-sounding excuse to knock the subordinate down to the dust. For example, professors and students in higher education institutions. The students' papers and grades are all determined by the professors. Unless the student is a genius among geniuses, the professor can use any reason to prevent the student from passing. What can a student do? Sue him? Are you kidding? The professor thinks your graduation thesis is not good. Are you still not convinced? How dare you sue? They will all be doomed. Those who have a little power dare to use chicken feathers as a token of authority and will not stop until they have taken advantage of everything. This is also one side of human nature, and there are always such people. Of course, human nature also has a kind, just, and bright side. There are countless great people and unsung heroes in this regard. The problem is that 10 good people doing 100 good things is not as good as one bad person doing one bad thing. Destruction is always easier. In addition, those who are oppressed, even if they can get justice in the future. But do they deserve bad luck in the first place? What's more, what about those who died in vain? They even lost their lives. The new Han Kingdom where Xiaoming lives is already quite good. The society is generally fair. But dark corners still exist. So when Xiaoming was a little older, he hoped that there really was a hell. Otherwise, this world is really a bit bad. This is not just about the evil people being proud and the good people suffering. It also includes those babies who died shortly after birth. And children born with severe disabilities. What have these children done to offend anyone? What have they done wrong? Why do they have to suffer so much in this life? If life is really just once, it is really unacceptable. Therefore, although Xiaoming did not know whether the underworld existed at the time, he was still full of hope, or willing to believe that the underworld would exist. He believed that all humans have souls, and souls will not completely dissipate after experiencing a life. It is conceivable that Xiaoming was very relieved after learning that the underworld really existed. As he thought about it, Xiaoming found that his thoughts had drifted too far and he was off topic again. He quickly pulled it back. The Hongcheng in front of him was obviously deceived by the organization. And maybe it was a conditioned reflex because he was once a soldier? He did not suspect that the organization was deceiving him at all. So he was doing evil things with the mentality of a guardian of justice. Because of this, Hongcheng's aura was very strange. His original intention was good, but in fact he became an accomplice of the bad guys. So his life energy was obscure. Xiaoming further explored and found that the Black Tiger Squad of the Umbu organization came to the local area to deal with the Zuxin Xiu incident. Hongcheng was sent here to arrange surveillance. Obviously, he was far away from the core. His boss probably knew that he was simple-minded and didn't dare to let him see some things. So he put him on the sidelines. How to deal with it? Xiaoming was a little confused. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 902. I conducted a review of my various abilities. Xiaoming found a way to deal with this matter. First, Xiaoming erased most of Hongcheng's memory. He no longer remembers that he is a member of Umbu. He is just a common man who lost his memory and was taken in by Zioxi village. Xiaoming used whispers to everyone in the village to amplify their kind thoughts and pursuit of a stable life. At the same time, the memory of rescuing Hongcheng was added to everyone. Match each other. After taking the initiative to trigger a discussion among the whole village, Zioxi village decided to change its business direction. He no longer lives by stealing, but instead develops the mountains where he lives. Before, they were rich and cautious. In order to disguise themselves, they contracted several surrounding mountains. I also planted some fruit trees for show. Now that they have changed their ways, the villagers immediately discovered that fruit trees can actually make money. This is the current direction of development. Of course, There are also 2 or 3 stubborn people among the villagers. Xiaoming had to modify their memories, deliberately increasing their fear of being caught breaking the law. This successfully changed the fate of Xiaoxi village. As for the possible revenge of the Umbu organization, Xiaoming believes that they may not have time to take action against this small village by then. If they couldn't make a fuss about them, Xiaoming might as well buy a piece of tofu and kill them head on. Maybe it's impossible to completely destroy the Umbu, but if they suffer losses and become suspicious, Xiaoming is still confident. From Hong Chang, Xiaoming learned the whereabouts of the Black Tiger team. What a coincidence, it is also the Jinding Hotel. But that's it, Hong Cheng doesn't even know the room number. Fortunately, Xiaoming used his mental power to scan the hotel and found these people directly. In the whole hotel, except Xiaoming, there are only 8 reincarnations. There were 5 of them gathered in just one room. And they are not good people. Isn't it obvious? The city where Xiaoming is located is a small city on the 7th, 8th, and 9th tiers, with only 1 or 2 decent hotels. The location of Jinding Hotel is right in the city center, with extremely convenient transportation. It is normal for the Black Tiger team to choose this place as their base. As for the other 3 reincarnations, who are they? Simple, they are all spies who have recently been or are currently monitoring Xiaoming. The aura is so familiar. Captain, can you please stop calling me such a shameful name? Xiaoming's eavesdropping started in the middle. No, please report the situation quickly and stop talking nonsense. It should be the captain who spoke. A third person also chimed in, Little Yellow Duck, the captain is asking you, have you paid your respects at the pier? Little Yellow Duck. The little yellow duck was dissatisfied, brother, let's not hurt each other. You big black duck sounds so good. You still have the nerve to criticize me. It sounds good. I think it's quite domineering. The big black duck was obviously being mean. You are really stupid. I have explained to you several times what duck means. A fourth voice came out to make peace. TCH, no one can say anything, so why should I care? Okay. Shut up, you two. It takes me a few minutes each time to listen to your nonsense. If you don't bother me, I'm tired of it. No more nonsense. Yes. Captain. Asterisk 2. Captain, we have visited all the docks of the local underworld. They are all small characters and are not in the way. Baidaor is not strong enough, so there is no need to worry. The only thing worth worrying about is the hive. All here are reincarnations. When it comes to hive, everyone knows it as the northern branch of League of Legends. But what surprised Xiaoming the most was that he learned from Hong Cheng that this team was not called the Black Tiger team. Why are all the team members nicknamed Duck? Naturally, he ignored Xiaoming's doubts and said to himself, it doesn't matter, the hive's actions are restricted. As long as we handle such small things beautifully, even if they know about it, they will have nothing to say. If we could do a better job, they wouldn't even notice. Haha, those are just a bunch of zombies, nothing special. Hey, a sea-level guy actually dares to criticize the zombie lineage. This captain's tone is quite serious. Xiaoming carefully observed this person's life energy. Not to mention his many evil deeds, his mental state is not very stable. It seems a bit obsessed. At this time, I heard another person say, I think this matter should be discussed in the long term. What? The captain seemed a little strange. At the same time, the big black duck also spoke, Mallard, what do you mean? Hearing him say the word Mallard, the other two held back with all their strength, neither laughing out loud nor complaining. Could it be that the captain's words were so majestic? It doesn't sound like it. If they were really dignified, these people should not dare to talk nonsense in the first place. After careful analysis, Xiaoming discovered that they were not afraid of the captain, but of the guy named Mallard. In terms of strength, only the captain is sea level, and the other 4 are about the same. They are afraid of mallards, so it shouldn't be a matter of force. On the contrary, the big black duck has no distracting thoughts. He really doesn't care about the title, and he has no intention of teasing. The mallard was not annoyed at all when he directly called him the nickname Mallard. Instead, he replied calmly. It's like this. I find that the atmosphere in the city is not quite right. There are a lot of spies, and they come from different forces. We should be careful. Are there many spies? It can't be. Oh, the captain looked up at the sky, thought about it carefully, and suddenly realized. Really? I feel the same way when you put it that way. There shouldn't be so many spies in such a small city. Okay, stop the operation. I'll ask the higher UPS. The captain was so calm, which didn't seem to match his unstable mental state. Xiaoming had more questions in his mind. Looking at the calm atmosphere, Xiaoming knew that this should be considered the captain's normal operation. It showed that the captain was not an impulsive guy. It's interesting that the captain could stay calm despite his unstable mental state. How did he do it? He made a phone call. He explained the situation. The other side seemed to take it seriously. Because he said yes, yes, yes several times, after hanging up the phone, he said to several team members. The superiors told us to wait for news. Donkey head, do you want to tell Hong Cheng to stop too? No need, he has already started, and stopping suddenly will attract more attention. The people we hired this time are carefully selected by us. If they are discovered, they will only think they are scouting the place. It doesn't matter. Let's go to another place first. Hong Cheng knows this hotel. The captain's voice was a little hesitant. Are you saying give up Hong Cheng? It's an emergency period, and I don't know who will pay attention. It's dangerous to contact him now, so cut off all contact for the time being. Hong Cheng actually knows nothing about us. He is not implicated in anything if he is arrested. Wait until the headquarters sends news and confirms that everything is fine. Then we can resume contact. The mallard is very calm and indifferent. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 903. The 5 members of the Black Tiger Squad seized the time and cleaned the room carefully, trying not to leave any clues. The mallard tidied up his appearance, opened the door and wanted to go out to handle some things. Suddenly, he found a person standing in front of him. The few people who were still in the room heard a loud shout of "Dark Manager," and then saw the mallard lying flat on his back and flying into the room. Duan hit the wall, causing a large crack, and the person had vomited blood and fainted. Several people were still thinking, the enemy is called Dark Manager? Which company's manager is that? Could it be Dark Experience? The next moment, a gray-black figure rushed into the room, and saw the gray skin, black armor cloak, and pointed ears. The captain suddenly realized that it was a dark elf. Just now, the mallard was clearly reminding everyone in the room what the enemy was, but he was hit quickly, causing the last word to change its tone. Everyone didn't hear it clearly. In this team, only the captain roughly knew what the dark elves were, but he had never actually seen one. However, several of them were veterans. They were originally soldiers and became reincarnations, so their combat skills were still good. They all reacted immediately. A black-skinned strong man and a somewhat thin man, that is, Big Black Duck and Little Yellow Duck, both took out their pistols at the same time and fired continuously at the dark elves that broke in. Pa, pa, pa! Several bullets hit another man in a tang suit. Xiaoming had never heard of his name. In fact, it was called Red-Footed Duck. Red-Footed Duck was unlucky. When the dark elves rushed in, they ran towards him. Before he could react, he was caught by the enemy and used as a shield to block several shots. Fortunately, he was a D-level reincarnation, and his physical attributes were stronger than those of ordinary people. He was shot several times in the chest and abdomen, but he was not dead. Still lingering. Then the body of Red-Footed Duck was thrown to the captain on the side. The captain was now emitting a strange red glow all over his body, as if he was using some strange skills. But he was not so desperate as to ignore his team members. He quickly caught the flying red-footed duck, stepped back a few steps to eliminate the momentum, and put it on the ground. From the corner of his eye, he saw that the dark elf rushed towards the other two team members at a high speed. Each of them was kicked and hit the wall and fainted. In a blink of an eye, he was the only one left in the team who was still able to fight. Since Xiao Ming started to attack Xiaozikan and the Umbu organization, he has used the ability to transform into this dark elf. This is the least likely to be traced back to his identity. Xiao Ming can certainly solve this matter very secretly. But it is easier to associate it with himself. Zhang Xiaoming, known to the outside world, has a good ability to hide. If there is something strange in the city, some people will unconsciously associate it with him. Especially this time, Xiaoming did not prepare a substitute at home. Everyone knew that he was out. Maybe he did this after he met his friends. That's why Xiaoming brought out a dark elf to muddy the water, hoping to make himself more concealed. Who are you? You're tired of living, so you come to mess with me. The captain's red light became stronger, and his temper became hot. Without waiting for Xiaoming to answer, he jumped over. In Xiaoming's eyes, the life energy on his body was already sinful, and the red light on his body made him look even more weird and evil. But after all, he only had sea-level strength, so it was a piece of cake. Boom, an energy bomb hit the captain, seriously injuring him. Xiaoming blew away the non-existent gunpowder from the muzzle of the energy gun and put the gun away. This gun is the weapon of the Dark Elf, and Xiaoming got it from SHIELD. But when he got it, the gun was still broken. Xiaoming just repaired it with the magic of repairing it as before. It's just right to use it to fight sea-level enemies. One hit will seriously injure, but it won't be fatal. And the 4 members named this duck, and that duck will probably die after being shot. There was no other way, so he had to use it on the captain. Xiaoming piled several people together, covered them with a large cloth, and disappeared like a magic trick. He turned around and left the room. Before leaving, he destroyed the camera in the corridor. Then he quietly teleported away. Xiaoming naturally did not leave anything behind. Although the people of this Black Tiger team were taken away, the sundries left in the room and the blood sprayed from the injuries can leave clues for others to track down. Xiaoming does not know the specific scale of the organization of the Umbu. If it is large, there may be S-level masters. In that case, I am afraid that it will have to rely on the major forces of the New Han Kingdom to deal with it. I can only do some damage to cause trouble to the other party. These clues are used to notify the major forces. An organization like the Umbu, you can think with your knees, you know that there must be many enemies. It is not surprising that someone came to destroy his actions. It is unlikely that it will not be associated with Xiaoming at all. But now there are good and bad people mixed together, and it is normal to be associated with it without any relevant evidence. It is not a big problem. If you want to confirm that it was Xiaoming who did it, I'm afraid you don't even have a 20% chance of success. This is fine. Xiaoming appeared at home. Looking around, Sister Hongqiao had already left. There was no food left on the table. That was enough food to feed dozens of people. Sister really has a good appetite. In fact, although Hongqiao ate with an appetite, she only ate about half of it, and the other half was packed up by her. Yin Xiaoming smiled and set up a barrier for the room that could be peeped but not entered. He went into the game cabin and went to play games. The task of interrogating the Black Tiger team was handed over to the Insect King Green Xiaoming, who was in the demon world. He still used the Tsukuyomi, and soon Xiaoming found out from the 4 team members why the Black Tiger team was a group of ducks. Among them, the one who knew more details was the mallard duck, who was equivalent to a military advisor in the team. He could trick people invisibly. In addition, his means were insidious and vicious, so except for the captain, all other team members had been dealt with by him, so they were naturally a little afraid of him. The 2 words Black Tiger are not the name of their team alone, many teams are named Black Tiger. To distinguish each team, you have to look at the captain's code name. Hong Cheng only knew a little, and everyone told him little of the truth, so he thought their team was called the Black Tiger team. The captain's code name is Subaru Duck. So to be precise, they should be called Subaru Duck Team. This name is obviously imitating the Pleiades rooster in the 28 constellations. Therefore, the code names of other team members must also be ducks. The guy who can give the team such a name is also talented. Xiaoming can only express his admiration. My parents gave me such a popular name, and they were just lazy. The guy who named the Pleiades duck team is quite mean. I wonder what names his children will be given. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 904. These 4 members are basically aware of the behavior of the Umbu organization. And they all acquiesce to the organization's practices. Some of them were recruited in the same way and were once victims. Maybe they thought it was not worth it to be the only one unlucky, so they planned to drag a few more people into the water. Some were asked to help because of the feelings of their comrades. They just did some illegal little things. The organization gave them generous rewards. However, they seemed to have forgotten the principle of not doing evil even if it was small, so things naturally did not stop at small things. A small thing turned into several small things, and then things got bigger and bigger. Today, there is no turning back. Now the 4 people have blood debts on their hands, and there is no trace of their original conscience and military honor. Judging from the fact that they can accept the task of harming their comrades with peace of mind, these people have completely fallen. In view of the fact that they used to be soldiers of various countries in China and have made contributions, Xiaoming will not torture them for a long time. Just send them to reincarnation. Some of them came from other Huaxia countries, not all of them were veterans of the new Han Kingdom. Their bodies were absorbed by the Insect King. They had no skills worthy of Xiaoming's covetousness, this was just to increase Xiaoming's options for transformation. There was a chance to use it to pit the Umbu organization. That mallard knew more things, but unfortunately his strength was limited after all. There was too little high-level information that he could access. It was nothing more than some supply points of the Umbu organizations in various countries, or some cases could be confirmed to be related to the Umbu. This kind of information was not very useful to Xiaoming. It seemed that he still had to make a fuss about the captain, Subaru Duck. The Insect King's current ability was to absorb a person and obtain his memory. For the damned, it didn't matter if he didn't interrogate him. But this Subaru Duck gave Xiaoming a bit of a weird feeling, as if he absorbed it directly, he might miss something. In this case, Xiaoming decided to use Tsukuyomi to take a look at his spirit body first. It turns out that I met a master of spiritual power. I am unlucky. The Subaru that appeared in the world of Tsukuyomi did not appear in human form. Instead, it looked like a red evil ghost, with a twisted and distorted body, which was very scary. Xiaoming saw clearly that at the core of this evil ghost, there was a red stone the size of a fingernail. That swear word was actually said by the stone, which was really weird. And the spirit of Subaru was in an extremely chaotic state. If you absorb Subaru like this, you probably won't find many memories. He is clearly in a state of possession. And this is a kind of spiritual possession, and absorbing his body is useless. On the contrary, it is very likely to let the stone go. After asking several questions in succession, the stone said nothing and pretended to be dead. It was really a dead duck. Xiaoming couldn't do anything with him, so he simply manipulated the Tsukuyomi space and swallowed it directly. Until it was completely swallowed, the stone still looked forward to death. Even though it was only a small stone, it was still helpful for Xiaoming's mental growth. Xiaoming was secretly amazed. With Xiaoming's current mental power, anything that could produce enough help to be felt was incredible. In the future, if Subaru can fully exert the power of this stone, Xiaoming might not be able to defeat him so easily. Of course, it is unlikely that this kind of possession method can be fully exerted. Xiaoming did not get much information, the only thing he knew was the name of this stone, Killing Stone. Of course, it is just the debris of the complete Killing Stone. Killing Stone, Xiaoming has never heard of this name. But looking at its power, it can compete with the fire source, right? No wonder it can help him. Xiaoming guessed that the Killing Stone might be the bottom of the box of the Umbu organization. Giving the debris to the captain-level characters can not only improve the captain's combat effectiveness in disguise, but also destroy his spirit. Just like Subaru Duck, even though he was captured by Xiaoming and even absorbed, he did not reveal any important information. Because every time this happens, the fragments of the Killing Stone will completely destroy the spirit of the possessed person. Ensure that the organization will not be traced. It is simply killing two birds with one stone. Even with Xiaoming's ability, he can only get the name of Killing Stone. The Killing Stone can strengthen a person, but in fact it will turn this person into an evil spirit. It is a very evil thing. If Xiaoming came into contact with the complete Killing Stone, I don't know if he can hold on. However, such a small grain was absorbed in a moment of laughter. Not only did it not affect Xiaoming's spirit, it also became nutrients. It's a pity. If Subaru Duck's boss could be found, he could follow the clues and kill him all the way. Now the clues are broken. Although Xiaoming can also send shadow clones to investigate on Pangu Star, doing so is tantamount to seeking death. Xiaoming is not so stupid. This is the best situation now. This matter has no beginning or end, but it will definitely attract attention from all sides. Even if it is just because of the appearance of the Dark Elves, it is worth investigating by all forces. As long as a big force intervenes, their investigation will definitely be more powerful than his own. By then, whether through the League of Legends or the Li family, Xiaoming can get the information he needs. Now, Xiaoming just needs to pretend that nothing has happened and secretly wait for the news to come to him. Although the Umbu organization is still there, Zhu Xingxiu's factory should be fine for the time being. The other party is unlikely to continue to cause trouble at this time. Even if they want to, they have to wait until everything is settled before they can cause trouble. Otherwise, do you really think that League of Legends is for free? Having solved a problem and increased his mental strength, Xiaoming's mood suddenly improved a lot. Suddenly, a blessing came to his mind. He thought of an idea. In the Magic Planet game, the original 4 characters were of course occupied by the intelligent programs. But Xiaoming is treated preferentially here at the Nine-Tailed Fox. It's no problem to have as many characters as he wants. Will it be over soon to create a new character? Even if it is a 0 order 0 level character, it is almost invincible under Xiaoming's powerful blessing. It will soon be able to be trained to a high level. Even if you don't want to play this character in the future, you can still give it to the intelligent program to play. Although there is no so-called golden VIP title in the Magic Planet, Xiaoming actually enjoys a lot of privileges. I'm so smart, Xiaoming said to himself. But he completely forgot that he could have used this privilege a long time ago. It was not until more than 2 weeks later that he remembered it. This is not smart at all, it is clearly slow to react. The Nine-Tailed Fox is actually worried. The high-level energy received from Jiang Xiaoming has seriously declined recently. We need to think of a way. Xiaoming proposed to create a new role, which was exactly what he wanted. The nine-tailed fox expressed a warm welcome. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 905. Unfortunately, things are unpredictable, so the nine-tailed fox certainly welcomes Jiang Xiaoming to create a new game character. But there was another important matter that he couldn't delay. The military named Jiang Xiaoming for recruitment. Of course it's not a permanent call-up, just a temporary call-up. It's not an exaggeration to say it's a request. It has no coercive effect. The destination is Nuwa Star. Nuwa planet is located in the Yandi galaxy, and there are many magical creatures in the local area, many of which are the prototypes of monsters in the magical planet. Many of them are exactly the same. There is a natural disaster of the undead on this planet, and a huge army of undead has flooded most of the planet's surface. Other groups can only huddle in certain corners to defend themselves. The military headquarters of the new Han dynasty and various forces all regarded this place as a training ground and laboratory. Several bases were established on the ground. A large number of cloned and modified humans were put in to fight the local undead. These clones are actually somewhat similar to avatars. They are all products of combining human genes with native biological genes. It's just that the cloned and transformed humans in New Han state can be controlled by either intelligent programs or real people, and there are a lot of them. Avatar must be operated by a real person. This type of connection for copying and transforming people is relatively loose. In addition to the person being copied who can easily connect and control, others can also connect, but the control will be a bit awkward. Xiaoming has connected several times and played casually on Nuwa planet, which was quite interesting. An unexpected incident occurred on the Nuwa planet. The military did not know that Jiang Xiaoming had been to the Yanhuang 3-star systems. This time, they made a special trip to recruit him. After all, Xiaoming's excellent undead magic is already well known. It is not unreasonable to specially invite him to fight against the undead. This news was delivered directly by the game system. The nine-tailed fox told Xiaoming personally. Moreover, the nine-tailed fox also told Xiaoming that another member of his group was also being recruited. He is someone who can attract light spirits. In Xiaoming's external rhetoric, they are a pair of twin brothers, named Xiaoming and Zhang Xiaoliang respectively. All can attract light spirits. It has nothing to do with Jiang Xiaoming himself. It's just that the twins' situation is special, and the military can't deliver the news in advance. We can only wait for them to log in to Xiaoming, and then tell them to operate the cloned modified person. Zhang Xiaoliang is still being studied by the Scientific Research Department, and the spiritual connection channel is still not open. What happened to Nuwa Star had no effect on him. For these magical twins, the military just took the opportunity to examine their combat effectiveness. Not much hope was placed on it. It doesn't even matter if you come or not. Xiaoming looked at the time, and it was indeed not far from the time when Xiaoming usually feeds the light spirits. But the top priority now is to accept the military recruitment as Jiang Xiaoming. There were so many people outside watching Xiaoming enter the game warehouse, and they couldn't even pretend to be stupid. Qingkaiu, the first base of New Han Dynasty on Nuwa planet, was jointly established by the Space Army and the Army. In fact, the Space Army is still the main force. If the Army hadn't been unwilling to be left alone and just intervened, I'm afraid it wouldn't even have a name. Through the spiritual transmission channel specially opened by the military for Jiang Xiaoming, the body possessed by Xiaoming is the body of a human magician based on Xiaoming's DNA. In the process of copying and transforming people, it is easier to make a body with strong physical attributes, but it is very difficult to make a body with strong mental attributes. New Han State does not yet have the ability to mass-produce magicians. Even this body has just been debugged and made. It can only be regarded as an experiment. After all, Jiang Xiaoming was too inconspicuous in the past, and it was impossible for the military to use his DNA specifically to create a cloned and transformed person with strong spiritual attributes. It wasn't until 2 months ago that Xiaoming suddenly became famous, and the military began to produce it. Now the first experimental product has just been put into use. Thank you Mr. Jiang Xiaoming for actively responding to the call of the military department and agreeing to help so quickly. Welcome. Xiaoming had just come out of the game warehouse. A heroic female officer saluted him with a military salute and welcomed Jiang Xiaoming with a smile. She actually looks similar to Xiao Jing which is probably a honey trap. Let Xiaoming feel good about her unconsciously first. Xiaoming can feel that since arriving here, his body has been surrounded by many detection methods. However, this is an important military area, and it is understandable that it will be monitored and investigated. However, Xiaoming estimated that others would probably not receive this kind of treatment. I am quite special. There are not only technological means, but also supernatural means. Among them, round is one that Xiaoming is more familiar with. Everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the country. Xiaoming replied with a smile, can you introduce the situation first? What do you need me to do? Of course, please follow me. Let's go to the headquarters first. By the way, my name is Annabelle Jane. You can just call me Bella. At this moment, he clearly felt that those observing him were on heightened alert. As if to see him through and through. The female soldier in front of me had no European ancestry at all, yet she actually had such a name. And what a coincidence that the same surname as Zhang Ziyaliang's adjutant Cecilia is Jane. There is no doubt that this is a test method. Judging from all the evidence, they did not doubt that Jiang Xiaoming had any relationship with the twins. After all, Jiang Xiaoming and the twins have appeared many times at the same time. But there was no need to waste such a good opportunity, so the military casually tried it out. There are 3 dates but there are no dates. Xiaoming pretended to be stunned, looked at Annabelle and said, you don't look like a Bella. There is no trace of European. Bella was well prepared and answered the doubts casually. I changed this name after joining the army. My instructor in the military academy helped me to name it. Why, is it not nice? It sounds good, it sounds good. The name is really good. Your instructor is really good, Xiaoming flattered casually. Of course, Bella raised her head proudly, and then began to introduce the situation to Xiaoming. Mr. Jiang, let me give you a brief introduction first. I believe you now know the general information of the Yanhuang 3-star system, right? Xiaoming nodded. Continue to listen to her explanation. This base is called Qingkaiu, and it is one of the 3 bases of the military on the surface of Nuwa Star. About last night, the army of undead began to attack our base on a large scale. Don't get me wrong, this kind of large-scale attack happens about every few months. Undead, that's how it is. Every time we lose a lot of our transformed soldiers. I invited you here because your undead magic is most suitable for this kind of meat grinder-like battlefield. If we can sacrifice fewer transformed soldiers, we can save a lot of resources. After listening to her words, Xiaoming was silent. So he was invited here just to save money. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 906. Emergency Military Order, please ask Mr. Jiang to go to Southeast-12 District to assist in defense. You can fight in any way. Lieutenant Jian, you will go with us. A square-faced young man appeared in front of Annabella and Xiaoming and announced the military order directly. He didn't even introduce himself. Xiaoming nodded in agreement. Bella stood at attention and saluted, yes. It seemed like an emergency dispatch, but in fact, Xiaoming, who had telepathy, saw it very clearly. This young man was waiting here specifically. The military also knew that Zhang Xiaoming was now an emerging force. The relationship between him and the military could only be a cooperative relationship at most, and it was impossible for him to join the army. In this case, they didn't need to let Zhang Xiaoming meet the senior officers of the command directly. That's why they played such a drama. Xiaoming was not surprised, and the trust between the two sides was like this. He followed Bella obediently to the so-called Southeast-12 district. Gradually coming to the periphery of the base, the feeling of the base was gradually changing. The core is an absolutely high-tech building, and there are many stone buildings in the middle. When we got to the periphery, we looked at the Kinkai base again. It was not high-tech at all. It looked like an ancient stone fortress. About half of the fortress in the north was leaning against a steep cliff. If the Kinkai fortress is regarded as a regular octagon, it was covered by cliffs in the north, northeast, and northwest. This part has actually been dug into the mountain. In addition, most of the city was exposed. The periphery was divided into 5 areas: east, southeast, south, southwest, and west. And it was a structure of 3 layers of walls from the outside to the inside. The total height was more than 100 meters. It must have been an extremely magnificent fortress in ancient times. If the directors of Pangustar saw it, they would definitely cry and shout to come here to shoot movies. Outside the fortress was a vast grassland, and at this moment, there were undead everywhere. Among them, the skeleton soldiers and zombies of level 1-2 were the main ones. There was no end in sight. Xiaoming's circle was not wide enough, but unfortunately he did not dare to use the skill of scanning the map. I don't know how many undead armies there are below. The battle at this time is only at the lowest first circle of the city wall. Countless cloned cyborgs and undeads are fighting hard. The crossbows and catapults on the 2nd and 3rd floors of the fortress have been shooting at the undead army. Every shot can kill a lot of enemies. But the undead army doesn't care. Their purpose is also very simple. The high-level soldiers are staying behind and not coming up. They are using low-level soldiers to consume Kinkai's long-range firepower. To deal with these low-level soldiers, the best props are actually the P-Cannon series. The attack power is just right. Sunflowers and sun mushrooms can continue to provide energy for the P-Cannon. Otherwise, you can also transfer Xiaohong and Xiaolu, 2 natural devil fruit ability users, to come over. It is not a problem to freeze and magma to sweep the soldiers. It's a pity that these things can't be done. The situation here is not critical. Those who died are soulless cyborgs, and Xiaoming doesn't have to work too hard. The strength still needs to be hidden. Since the military wants to see Xiaoming's undead magic, then use undead magic. Xiaoming was planning to use the corpses of the transformed people everywhere to perform death harvest and create a large number of skeleton soldiers to fight. Unexpectedly, a strange change occurred. The pre-swing action of this magic is to release the caster's mental power first to cover the corpses on the battlefield. Then harvest. Inevitably, Xiaoming's mental power came into contact with the undead who were still standing near the corpses and fighting. In an instant, all the undead who were touched by Xiaoming's mental power collectively defected. All obeyed Xiaoming's instructions. What is going on? Xiaoming himself was also shocked and suddenly realized that since he learned undead magic, Xiaoming had never fought against other undead wizards. In the game, he had encountered other people's undead subordinates. But maybe it was because of the game setting, or maybe Xiaoming's level was not enough at the time. There has never been a phenomenon of undead soldiers surrendering to him in front of the battle. Then Xiaoming discovered that it was not just the undead who defected. The modified soldiers belonging to the human side on the battlefield seemed to be able to be driven by Xiaoming after being exposed to Xiaoming's mental power. If there were only a few, Xiaoming could understand it. Maybe they encountered modified soldiers based on their own genes. It is not surprising that they were controlled by Xiaoming at such a close distance. However, almost all the modified soldiers turned against him, which is very strange. A flash of inspiration came to Xiaoming's mind, and he thought of the most likely reason: Professor X's telepathy. Professor X has the ability to control other people, and he has taught this skill to Xiaoming. Xiaoming's mental power is stronger, and the power he uses is also greater. Whether it is these undead or modified soldiers, the original owner's control over them is very weak. After being exposed to Xiaoming's vast mental power, it would be strange if they did not turn against him. So in Bella's surprised eyes, a large group of undead warriors under the section of the city wall suddenly turned their weapons and killed back. Most of the modified soldiers on this section of the city wall were controlled by intelligent programs, so they did not hold back. We still attacked the undead soldiers who had already turned against us. In order not to reveal too much, Xiaoming did not take over our cyborgs. If he did, I wonder how the military would react. There are always a few among the cyborgs who are remotely controlled by real humans. These people, like Bella, were stunned and completely confused. After a while, Bella asked stupidly, "Mr. Zhang? This is your magic. This is, too." This girl has never seen such a scene before, and now she is so shocked that her mouth is drooping. In this situation, Xiaoming does not need to continue to harvest death. It's not that he can't do it, but he is afraid of scaring others. He didn't even dare to continue to expand his mental power. If he continues to expand, more undead will defect, and it will be difficult to explain. It's better to have fewer. So Xiaoming concentrated on controlling the current 1,300 or so skeleton soldiers and zombies, and strangled with the enemy. Once there is a loss, Xiaoming will take over another enemy undead to ensure that the troops he controls remain unchanged, and the enemy will be killed less and less. Seeing this, our commander withdrew all our soldiers back to the city wall and even stopped firing long-range arrows. Just watching. After fighting for about 10 minutes, Xiaoming called the woman beside him, "Bella." "Yes, Mr. Zhang, what do you want me to do?" Bella watched for a long time and her mentality became stable. "My mana is almost exhausted now. I need to rest for a while. You remind your superiors to prepare to take over the battle." "Yes. You must rest well and don't get tired." Bella admired Xiaoming very much. This concern was sincere. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 907. As soon as Annabella Jane left, a priest came to Xiaoming, and the two of them staggered their feet. A skill to replenish mana was sent to Xiaoming. It turned out that the military command had already thought of his problem of insufficient mana. A priest was urgently transferred over. He has the skill to replenish mana for others. At present, the Battle of Qingkai Fortress is still in its early stages, and there is no need for such high-end talents to play. Priests and other modified people are also difficult to make, and the military will not use them casually. It can be seen that Xiaoming is highly valued. This situation is too special. Zhang Xiaoming did something that other necromancers have never done. He robbed the army from other necromancers. Occasionally, it is normal to rob one or two undead soldiers from other necromancers. As long as the robbing party is focused enough and the other party does not care much about this subordinate, you can clear the other party's control over the undead, and then control it yourself. This is not difficult at all. Almost all necromancers with some ability can do it. But almost no one really does this. Because the mana consumed in that way is enough to summon dozens of times more undead soldiers. An ordinary undead soldier is definitely not worth such a great effort. An excellent undead soldiers are generally valued by the opponent and are difficult to snatch. So the military has never heard of or seen such a large-scale snatching of enemy soldiers in front of the battle as Xiao Ming did. There have been assessments in this regard. The military thinks that such a situation is likely to require the legendary undead Great Mage. As for whether this title really exists, it is still a question mark. The reason for such an assessment is entirely because the strategic research room is full of otakus who like to play games. This kind of speculation is not a brain hole, but a normal reasoning. Zhang Xiaoming is naturally not a great undead mage, that must be at least S level. Therefore, the military has a certain interest in Zhang Xiaoming. A high-level priest of their own was specially dispatched. On the one hand, it is to replenish Xiaoming's mana, and on the other hand, it is to observe Xiaoming's condition nearby. This is a constraint on Xiaoming. If the military had not been monitoring him too closely, Xiaoming was planning to secretly send out the invisible 7 stars shadow clone to go deep behind enemy lines. Maybe, Xiaoming himself could help the military solve this undead siege. Now there is no need to mention anything. In fact, if Xiaoming was more careful, he could still send out people. But it was boring to be in the cold, so Xiaoming gave up. So he repeated the previous actions with ease. When his mana was insufficient, he called on the priest to replenish it. During this period, Xiaoming also changed the battlefield several times according to the requirements of the headquarters. After destroying nearly 100,000 enemies in total, Xiaoming said that he was too tired and withdrew from the battle. Annabella thanked Xiaoming profusely. She kept asking Xiaoming to come and help often in the next few days. During this period, Huang Xiaoming also logged into Xiaoming to feed the light spirits. However, he refused the request to come to Nuwa Star to help on the grounds that he was busy recently. Although Xiaoming is a member of the army to a certain extent, he is actually the type who only listens to orders but not propaganda. The military can't say anything if he refuses to help. However, Yin Xiaoming probably can't escape. His family is all in Xinhan, his abilities are just right for this battle, and there are no troubles around him. He can't find a suitable excuse to be lazy. It seems that he will have to go to Qingkai Fortress frequently in the next few days. This is not the first time Xiaoming has come to Nuwa Star. He has left shadow clones, subdued housekeepers, etc. on this planet before. However, some of them dissipated due to lack of energy replenishment in time, and some were killed by masters. Not a single one survived. So far, Xiaoming has not had a clear understanding of this planet. This also reflects a feature of Nuwa Star from the side, that the energy level is very high and there are many masters. Originally, Xiaoming had planned to mobilize the Zerg army to Nuwa Star to occupy the territory. It was also to test the military power of this planet. Later, after owning a private world, there was no need for this. The Zerg were all transferred to the demon realm. Nuwa Star, Xiaoming has actually given up. There are many fun places in the universe, and it is completely unnecessary to compete with various forces in such a dangerous place. With the involvement of the undead siege, Xiaoming did not create a fifth character. The 3 Xiaomings are doing things step by step. The Insect King focuses on developing the territory of the Zerg and Zerg humans in the demon world. Now that he has the ability to change his body at will, laying eggs is finally not so annoying to Xiaoming. In the past, he had to spit out eggs from his mouth, and it was a bit disgusting to spit too much. Yuppie's ability brought new inspiration to Green Xiaoming. He can produce several tubes from his body, and they lay eggs. The feeling of disgust is gone. It's just that laying eggs requires a lot of energy and nutrients. Xiaoming can't let go of production. The energy and nutrients accumulated in various worlds before have been almost consumed recently. If it were the Zerg's usual practice, Xiaoming should now launch a large-scale war. Eliminate all non-Zerg species, eat them all, and then transform them into new forces for the Zerg. However, Xiaoming's approach was slightly different. In the demon world, the insect humans and Zerg did not kill all the animals in their territory. It just occupies the ecological niche of predators. The number of all medium and large carnivorous animals and monsters has been greatly reduced. Those that are still alive are equivalent to being raised in enclosures. The task of regulating the number of herbivores and low-level monsters is undertaken by the Zerg. Please note that in order to prevent the Zerg and Zerg humans from becoming lazy, Xiaoming does not plan to develop animal husbandry. If they want meat, the children must hunt by themselves. What if they can't catch prey? It doesn't matter, they won't starve. The food sources of Zerg humans and Zerg are actually diverse. Mainly from Zerg mist. The second is sunflowers and sun mushrooms. These two plants are props and cannot be eaten. But Zerg can go near the plants to absorb their aura. Naturally, they can fill their stomachs. Killing herbivores is to maintain ecological balance on the one hand, and to satisfy their cravings on the other. When Zerg humans brought the concept of cooking to the Zerg, they successfully diverted the eating habits of the Zerg under Green Xiaoming. The Zerg, who used to be fine with eating raw meat and drinking blood, now start to focus on what is delicious. Looking at a group of big bugs cooking around the stove, Xiaoming always feels that it is so unnatural. This springtail actually stuck a piece of meat on its front paw and roasted it on the fire. You are not afraid of being burned? Well, the Zerg are not afraid of this temperature. That hydralisk even hung an apron on itself. Who did this horse learn from? Xiaoming is speechless. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 908. Huang Xiaoming needs to show up on Zheneng 2 from time to time to repair the auxiliary robots. Yin Xiaoming also has to go to Qingkai Fortress to assist in the defense every few hours. What they do is of great help to the landlord. Both the Shen family and the military are very attentive to serve. The Shen family's reward has been paid long ago. The military soon sent a list of rewards for Xiaoming to choose from through the League of Legends. At this level, money will definitely not be used as a thank you. No party will be short of money. And even if there is a shortage, selling some things casually can be worth a fortune. Given Xiaoming's identity as a reincarnation, there are even many products in the military's list that are reincarnation space. Xiaoming found that the military list accounted for a large proportion of technological things. Among them, there are 3 fire source fragments of different sizes. It attracted Xiaoming's attention. It also aroused his suspicion. This kind of thing should be of great help to the new Han Kingdom Space Army. Thinking about transforming a space battleship into a transformer is exciting. How could they be willing to use it as a reward? Hong Chao immediately cleared his doubts. These fragments of the spark source have not been certified by the Samsara space. There is no guarantee of quality. According to the military's understanding and testing of the spark source fragments, the transformers stimulated by this thing are all vicious and stingy Decepticons. The military still has the power to control a few Decepticons. If there are too many, the military has no choice and simply cannot get so many resources to control the Decepticons. Therefore, the military has indeed accumulated some of these fragments. And the number is still increasing. Since it cannot be used up, it is the best choice to take it out and exchange it with other forces. In fact, the spark source fragments can also be fused into a larger spark source. But only those that have been certified by the space can do so. These smuggled goods are naturally not possible. Generally speaking, the most capable of suppressing the nature of the Decepticons is the power of cultivation. That is, powerful spiritual power. Transformers are good thugs and bodyguards for low-level cultivators. Even in the eyes of high-level cultivators, they are quite interesting toys. The fire source fragments also have extraordinary value. So there are really many immortal cultivators who are willing to play with such fragments. The force behind Xiaoming is seen by the outside world as a sect of immortal cultivators. This reward is also sincere. Upon hearing this, Xiaoming unceremoniously chose these 3 fire source fragments. After receiving them, Green Xiaoming absorbed them directly at the first time. Xiaoming is also very familiar with the fire source. He absorbed it easily. The flowers on the silver source energy tree bloomed more beautifully. As mentioned earlier, the source energy tree deep in Xiaoming's soul can bloom. Each flower blooming is the generation of a special ability. Now, Xiaoming's 3 source energy trees have each bloomed a flower. The flower on the silver source energy tree represents the ability of enlightening transformers. The other 2 flowers, one represents super energy seeds, the other represents plants versus zombies system. They are all very awesome gold fingers. The 3 pieces of fire source fragments sent by the military are of better quality than what Xiaoming got at the beginning. After these 3 pieces were absorbed, the strength of the transformers that Xiaoming can enlighten has been upgraded from the original C level to B level. Of course, the source energy paid for this is also much more. Not only can the newly enlightened transformers reach B level, the existing transformers can also continue to upgrade. Xiaoming has no shortage of source energy, so soon, several transformers subordinates, including Xiaoqia, Mind Beast Zhanghong, and Zhang Ren, have all been upgraded to the 6th level. Only Zhang Nan has not changed much. He is only E level, and his main body is a hacker energy pistol. There is really not much room for improvement. There are also 13 alien transformers, and they have all been upgraded a small step. The alien guards are B level, and the alien warriors are B-. Xiaoming is very happy about the improvement in strength. Since he has received the reward, Xiaoming will naturally be more active in defending Qingkai Fortress, and he will also summon Zhanghong to participate in the battle. There were more than 10 transformers, but Xiaoming only sent one to participate in the battle. He was really active. At the same time, he was also expressing an attitude, letting the military see how he used the fragments of the spark source. First, he used the materialization telekinesis to create an alien telekinesis beast as a vehicle, and then used the fragments of the spark source to transform the telekinesis beast into a transformer. Since it was his own telekinesis beast, after it became a transformer, it could be more compatible with him. Later, the military told him through Annabella that the military had known about this method for a long time. However, for some reasons, it could not be popularized at all. The first difficulty is that there are not many telekinesis users of the materialization system, and there are even fewer who can materialize large machinery. It is good for ordinary people to materialize a knife, a sword, etc., but want a whole car, how can it be so beautiful? The other difficulty is even more terrible. The telekinesis beast will indeed not be transformed into a Decepticon by the spark source, and the newly born transformer will also obey the orders of the master. But the violent and stingy spirit of the spark source did not disappear, but was transferred to the telekinesis user. Fortunately, the human spirit has a certain resistance to the fire source. The ending is good or bad. Some people will collapse because they can't bear it, or even become crazy. Some people can hold on, and most of these people are those who cultivate spiritual power. So the military thinks that the reason why Xiaoming can withstand the fire source is nothing more than his cultivation. The discipline in the army is not suitable for the existence of immortals. After hearing what Annabella said, Xiaoming didn't feel embarrassed. He just expressed his opinion. How the military uses the fire source has nothing to do with him. On Friday, August 19, after repelling a wave of undead attacks, Zhang Xiaoming and Bella chatted on the city wall. The priest who added mana to him has now been replaced by a new one. This is the 4th time he has been replaced. As the undead army attacked more and more fiercely, Xiaoming's time in the battle increased unknowingly, his mana consumption also increased faster and faster. I thought that the next wave of troops would attack in a while. In the previous few times, even the third-level undead soldiers appeared. The opponent obviously began to exert its strength. However, this was a bargain for Xiaoming. Xiaoming directly took over these third-level undead soldiers, and the power of the counter-attack was even stronger. The new Han people on the city wall were all guessing when the fourth-level soldiers would appear. Unexpectedly, a sixth-level Dark Knight ran out of the opposite undead army. And he was the only one. He was wearing black armor and riding a black horse, holding a black spear, and it was hard to tell what it was made of. He was so cool. He rode slowly to the city gate, within an arrow's reach. He made a very strange sound. "Control, undead, who is it? Come out. You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment." Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 909. Running to the city gate alone to challenge, this kind of scene has only been seen in novels. This guy is simple and straightforward, and directly asked to see Xiaoming. Xiaoming and Annabelle looked at each other, but asked an irrelevant question: why are they speaking Chinese? Annabelle almost sprained her waist, rolled her eyes and replied, "This was changed more than 10 years ago. Probably because they figured out our language." "What about 20 years ago?" Xiaoming asked. "At that time, they spoke English." Bella frowned cutely. "Ha, I didn't think about it until you said it. Why did you choose English among so many languages?" Xiaoming looked at her hand, but didn't see the reincarnation ring, and didn't know whether he should tell her. Then he changed the subject. "This Black Knight seems to be calling me, should I go out?" Although he was challenging himself, this is a battlefield after all, and military law comes first, and the decision must be made by the command center. Suddenly Bella reached out and pressed the receiver in her left ear, pretending to listen carefully. Then he said to Xiaoming, "Mr. Zhang, the headquarters said that if you don't mind, don't show up for the time being. It's quite dangerous. The headquarters plans to send someone to pretend to be you." Xiaoming nodded and understood what this operation meant. It's rare to get in touch with the top of the undead and have a conversation. The so-called protection of Zhang Xiaoming by the military is just a cover. What's more important is to occupy this right to speak. They are also afraid that Zhang Xiaoming doesn't know the depth and says the wrong thing. In fact, Xiaoming is more worried that the military will mess things up. So he kindly reminded him. "That's good. But since the other party dares to come here like this, they may have a way to distinguish the true from the false. If you deceive them, be careful that the other party will get angry out of shame." Bella's expression condensed, and she quickly reported Xiaoming's words. 10 minutes later, the city gate opened, and a wizard in a grey robe and hood walked out of the city gate slowly. He came to a place more than 20 meters away from the Black Knight and stopped. Without lifting his hood, he raised his voice and asked, "Who are you? Tell me your name. Why do you want to see my master?" It seems that the command center listened to Xiaoming's advice. This trick is really cunning. It is not an impersonation, but it has a certain right to speak. "I am the Death Knight, Delaman." The opponent suddenly released a powerful aura, and a spiritual force rushed straight to the mage. If the mage's body was here, he might be able to resist one or two. However, now he is using a clone. The spirit and body cannot reach 100% matching. He was immediately offline after being hit by the opponent's spiritual power. Even the spirit was damaged to a certain extent. As for the body that stayed in place, it immediately collapsed to the ground. It can no longer be used. Humph. Too weak, lie to me. Delaman looked down on it. Even if he pretended to be an apprentice, it would not work. After all, the grade is too low. The military's idea is good, but it is a pity that it is difficult to implement. First of all, the other party is an expert in undead magic. People can tell at a glance whether a wizard has this quality. To be more precise, many masters of the undead lineage have no eyes. They basically use mental power to sense. It is really easy to distinguish between the same kind. There are also a few undead wizards in the army. In order to pretend to be like that, the wizard who transformed the human just now was also controlled by the undead wizard. It's just that the wizard's undead magic is not very strong, and he copied the body of the transformed human by mental remote control. Such a chaotic mental state, Delaman didn't believe it at all. No matter which undead wizard, if he had such a weak apprentice, he would have turned him into an undead soldier long ago. The Death Knight is not good at speaking, so he hates people deceiving and wasting his time the most. The momentum of his body is gathering. It seems that he is going to go crazy. A new order came from Annabella's headset immediately. However, in an emergency, Xiaoming took action before Bella relayed the order. The corpses of our transformed people and the remains of the opponent's undead soldiers were everywhere outside the city. The situation was quite tragic, and the materials were quite rich. After Xiaoming waved his hand, countless corpses began to disappear gradually, and countless skeleton soldiers stood up shakily. Among them, there were many level 3 and 4 ones. Since Xiaoming's character, the Dead, mastered the skeleton specialization in the game, Xiaoming's Death Harvest basically appeared skeleton soldiers. Even in reality, it was the same. These undead armies were naturally nothing in the eyes of the enemy, but this spell was too eye-catching. The characteristics of Death Harvest were quite obvious, and Delaman recognized it at a glance. Death Harvest. At this time, the body of the mage who had just fallen to the ground was transformed into a level 3 skeleton soldier and stood up. He was directly taken over by Xiaoming. Even though he didn't have organs such as vocal cords, throat, and mouth, he could still vibrate the air with mental power to make sounds. In fact, Delaman used a similar method. As a Death Knight, his vocal organs were incomplete. The sound was a little weirder. In fact, Xiaoming could communicate with Delaman directly mentally. But if we do that, others won't be able to hear the conversation, and it will become a secret meeting. It's a bit disrespectful to the military. Yes, it's Death Harvest. I didn't expect you know him. Hearing this, Delaman immediately turned over and dismounted, put his spear beside him, and knelt on one knee. He crossed his hands in front of his chest and bowed his head in salute. God of Death, Death Knight, Delaman, here's your greeting. His tone was still strange. But his life energy showed a very excited feeling. God of Death, no need for such a big gift, please get up. After hearing the other party's honorific, Xiaoming followed suit and added a sentence of God of Death. Sure enough, when he heard this, Delaman's aura became more pleasant. But he still didn't get up and continued to ask, is this city yours? Not really, the owner of this Kinkayu has done me a favor and invited me to help. So that's it? Kinkayu is safe from now on. The undead army will not come again. I don't care about the small group. If I didn't understand it wrong, he seemed to represent his forces and gave up the fight for Kinkayu Fortress from then on. His giving up represented that the undead siege incident was completely over. Kinkayu was recognized by the local undead forces. That's enough. Thank you, General Delaman. Listening to Delaman's words, Xiaoming felt as if he had accidentally made a great contribution. He thought that he should return the favor, and then a strong breath of death appeared in his hand and floated towards Delaman. The Death Knight was overjoyed and thanked him repeatedly. After respectfully absorbing it, he picked up his gun and led his mount back. Soon the entire undead army disappeared without a trace. The human side did not cheer enthusiastically, and all members fell into a strange silence. Magic Planet Online Game. Author, Lanzai Cai Shi Zhen Shen. Chapter 910. Zhang Xiaoming waved his hand to repel the undead army, and King Kai would never be attacked again. This kind of thing seemed quite ridiculous to the military, but it happened very realistically before their eyes. The King Kai base was gradually established about 60 years ago. Since then, every few months, the undead army would come to attack the city. The previous few times almost destroyed King Kai. The new Han Kingdom Space Army gritted its teeth and spent a lot of resources after more than 20 years of hard work to take root. After that, the undead army still came regularly, and the strength fluctuated, but the overall change was not big. They did not expand their army just because King Kai became stronger. To this day, the new Han Kingdom does not know where these undead armies came from. They can only see that they came from a large area covered by black fog. This black fog was named Dark Sky Curtain by the new Han Kingdom military. The Dark Sky Curtain is not exactly the same as the Zerg Mist, but the function of isolation and detection is the same. About 5% of the surface of Nuwa Star is covered by the dark sky for a long time. It is expected that these areas are probably the core areas of the undead. For these areas, the new Han Kingdom can only watch from afar in space with spaceships. Ground troops can't get close at all. Even spaceships can't fly too close, otherwise they will be hit by magic from the ground. Fighting spaceships from the surface shows how strong they are. Fortunately, the opponent doesn't seem to take King Kai base seriously. The military feels that the undead are just training. Now King Kai has established a firm foothold. Of course, each battle still consumes a considerable amount of resources. After establishing a firm foothold, the military has tried many methods and has sent high-level reincarnations, hoping to deter the enemy. Unfortunately, it was all in vain. Reincarnations can't come in person, and can only use mental connections to control the transformed soldiers. These soldiers are only about level 3-4 at most. The new Han Kingdom does not have the ability to train higher-level transformed soldiers. Therefore, even if it is an S-level reincarnation, it can only use a low-level body when it comes here, and it really can't scare the undead. The military is reluctant to send an S-level master here in person. This planet has masters who can directly destroy space destroyers from the ground. What if they die when they are sent here? So the two sides can only be in an awkward stalemate. Anyway, the new Han Kingdom can afford the consumption of resources. The military also regards it as training. Today, Zhang Xiaoming suddenly appeared and fooled the undead army with some tricks. The undead never talk nonsense to people, so naturally they are too lazy to lie. If they say they will never come again, they will never come again. Unless King Kai commits suicide and attacks others again. Faced with this situation, everyone in the command center was confused. They felt that the scene Xiaoming created was not big, so how could he scare the enemy? After confirming the facts, everyone laughed and laughed. In the future, King Kai base will save a lot of supplies. If these resources are used for development, the advantages are simply too great. After Delaman retreated, Zhang Xiaoming pretended that his mental power was too much, and he took the initiative to disconnect. At this time, Xiaoming and the military need to calm down and evaluate the current situation. Zhang Xiaoming exceeded the task, and the military should give more rewards. Similarly, how should Xiaoming explain this matter? Xiaoming has also thought about it. If the military is willing to add money, Xiaoming will accept it. If not, it doesn't matter. As for the question of why the undead retreated, of course, they don't know anything. It would be a miracle if they knew. In fact, although Zhang Xiaoming left Nuwa Star, he came back again in another way not long after. Xiaoming made a little mark in the death breath he just gave to Delaman. After estimating that they had left King Kai far away, Xiaoming opened a small portal. Nothing was sent over, as long as it was enough for his mental power to spread over. When Xiao Ming's spiritual power connected to Delaman, Delaman also felt it immediately. In spiritual communication, it was much easier for the two to chat. Without the military monitoring, the communication could be more frank. At least Delaman didn't stutter. Xiao Ming learned that in this army of undead, Delaman was firmly in the position of leader, but he was not the highest leader of his force. The highest leader was his master, the 7th level intermediate undead mage, Brahmin. But Brahmin was not in the army at the moment. After all, it was enough for Delaman to take action for such a small matter as training soldiers. What Brahmin wanted to train was naturally not the low-level undead soldiers, but the large number of undead wizards in the team. They are the backbone of the undead clan. In every war, countless low-level cannon fodders will be sacrificed, but some high-level elite soldiers will also be born in the war. These elite soldiers will be properly protected. Although the number of elite soldiers obtained each time is not large, over the years, a very elite large force can be accumulated. This is the advantage of the undead. They have plenty of time, and they can slowly grind out any matter. Therefore, the appearance of Kinkayu actually helped Brahmin. With such a fortress nearby, Brahmin can train wizards and accumulate elite soldiers. Why not do it? If it weren't for the fact that Nuwastar didn't like that, maybe he would have sent a banner. Xiao Ming felt that Brahmin might have underestimated the strength behind Kinkayu. If he didn't handle it well, he might end up raising a tiger to cause trouble. Since Kinkayu was such an important training site, why did Delaman give it up so easily? There are 3 reasons. First, Kinkayu is located in the core area of his master Brahmin's control area. It is surrounded by Brahmin's elite troops. He is not afraid of Kinkayu causing trouble. Once Kinkayu dares to take the initiative to attack Brahmin's territory, the previous promise will naturally be invalid. It is impossible for people to give up the right to self-defense. Second, although a training point is important, it is not indispensable. There are many similar training sites within Brahmin's control. It doesn't matter if one is missing. The third and most important thing is the face of the undead Grand Mage, Zhang Xiaoming. In the status of the undead Grand Mage is much higher than Brahmin, the ultimate mage. Delaman is even worse. They didn't directly knock Brahmin down to dust and rob all his power, which is very face-saving. Delaman felt that he was saving his master from danger. However, what he didn't know was that Zhang Xiaoming was not a great undead mage at all. It was just that Zhang Xiaoming's powerful mental power and the magic of Death Harvest caused him to misunderstand. I'm afraid even his master couldn't avoid this misunderstanding.